So there are studies showing that sexual behavior itself can increase testosterone. There was a study published in 2011 from Escasa et al., Escasa. This is the stuff of textbooks. This is on PubMed. These are quality studies showing that men who observe sex, so I guess this would be observing pornography, will have slight increases in testosterone during the observation. These people actually were willing to have blood draws taken while watching pornography. They had increases in testosterone that were very modest, of about 10%. Whereas when people participated in sex, they actually did this study where people had blood draws and they had real sex with their partners, and they had 70% increases in testosterone. So there are increases in testosterone that are quite significant during the physical act of sex, and far less so during observing sex.
Research suggests that testosterone promotes mating behavior in men. However, male testosterone is more closely linked with aggressive mating competition than with reproductive physiology. Testosterone production in males primarily increases when competing for females, rather than during mating periods. Testosterone is the most important hormone in male sexual development and function. However, estrogen should stay balanced with testosterone to help control sex drive, the ability to have an erection, and the production of sperm. In women, estrogen levels are comparatively higher than testosterone levels.
Now, the question that I often get, in fact, is one of the questions I get most often in the comments on YouTube, I don't know why that is whether or not ejaculation adjusts testosterone levels. And it turns out, there are 2 studies that I could find that were quality studies on PubMed that address this, that sex and ejaculation itself does not reduce testosterone levels, although it will increase prolactin levels for the reasons I described a moment ago. However, abstinence or sex without ejaculation for a week or more will increase testosterone levels up to 400%. So the answer is actually complicated. It's not straightforward. What it means is that sex itself increases testosterone. However, abstinence also increases testosterone even further. So it's a nuanced answer. And I hope this is satisfactory, no pun intended, to those of you that have been asking me, what is the relationship between sex and ejaculation and testosterone and dopamine? It is nuanced. And you have to understand that nuance if you want to understand how certain behaviors impact hormones and how hormones impact those behaviors.
Testosterone is linked to your sex drive, also called libido, whether you're a male or female. However, it is known to have a more direct effect on the male sex drive. Testosterone levels increase naturally during masturbation and sexual intercourse and fall back to regular levels after orgasm. After intercourse, human beings go through a refractory period, which is the recovery phase after orgasm. This phase begins after ejaculation, and it is nearly impossible for a man to have an additional orgasm during this phase. The refractory period depends on the prolactin release. The increased prolactin levels after orgasm are related to longer refractory periods. Some people supplement with vitamin B6 to help lower their prolactin levels and reduce the refractory period.
As I mentioned before, in females, testosterone also primes the motivation to seek out sex. And sex itself also increases testosterone, but it also increases prolactin. So in both men and women, sex increases prolactin post-sex. It's just the way that the system works. It's that testosterone and dopamine increase in the seeking out and the behavior of sex, and then after sex, prolactin levels go up. There's kind of a quiescence. The whole nervous system is promoted towards calm, and this may actually have something to do with pair bonding and the encouragement of individuals to spend more time together to exchange different smells and hormones and maybe even pheromones. And we're going to talk about pheromones in a moment.
Sexual behavior such as watching porn can increase testosterone levels, but is probably going to be marginal. Ejaculating or mating in real life does not increase testosterone levels. However, it increases prolactin levels. On the other hand, having sex without ejaculation can increase testosterone levels by up to 400%.
So just as there are behaviors that can increase testosterone, there are behaviors that can decrease testosterone. And one of the most well-characterized ones in humans is becoming a parent. So expecting fathers have an almost 50% decrease in testosterone levels, both free and bound testosterone. As well, their cortisol levels, a stress hormone, drop by almost threefold, which is incredible. And their estradiol levels double. So their estrogen levels double. So expecting fathers, many people have known, put on additional body weight. Everyone always thought that it's because they're eating in parallel with their pregnant wife. But it turns out that these effects of reduced testosterone, increased estradiol, and reduced cortisol can all be explained by an increase in prolactin. So not just in humans, but in other species as well. When the male and female of that species are expecting young, they lay down more body fat. The assumption is that this is to prepare for long nights of no sleep, which occurs in many species, not just in humans. So it's really interesting that this hormone prolactin can start suppressing whole categories of hormones, sex steroid hormones, and can start increasing whole categories of other ones.
Becoming a father leads to a sharp decline in testosterone. Although high levels of testosterone may help men during sex, testosterone-fueled traits such as aggression and competition are less useful when it comes to raising children. Some researchers measured the levels of testosterone, estradiol, cortisol, and progesterone. It was pretty obvious that the mothers-to-be showed large increases in all 4 hormones during their pregnancies, while the testosterone and estradiol levels declined in fathers-to-be. Moreover, the weight gain in fathers is also related to a decreased level of testosterone and cortisol levels and increased level of estradiol and prolactin.
So we hear about the dad bod. There are a lot of explanations for the dad bod that extend well beyond this podcast episode, but it is a well-known phenomenon that testosterone is going to drop, prolactin is going to increase, estradiol is going to increase in males and females that are expecting children. Now, how long that lasts is very interesting. It actually has to do with how much contact with the smells of the baby, of the offspring the father happens to have. So how available or unavailable he is will actually impact his level of hormones. Now, I am definitely not promoting the idea that fathers or mothers take time away from their offspring in order to keep their testosterone levels high or to restore them. It's not what I'm saying at all. It's just interesting to point out that these evolutionary mechanisms push us toward or bias us toward particular categories of behaviors by influencing our hormones, which then feed back and promote more of that particular behavior. Because as I mentioned before, peaks in testosterone in males and females cause individuals to seek sex, not promote parenting. Whereas reductions in testosterone, increases in prolactin, and decreases in cortisol move individuals of both sexes toward parenting behavior and less toward reproductive behavior.
The testosterone levels may also decrease in the human body with increased level of inflammation in the body. Men with low testosterone have higher levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines, small proteins released by cells during injury, infection, or in response to inflammatory factors in the environment.
The other behavior that markedly reduces testosterone in both males and females and markedly reduces the desire for seeking sex and sex itself is illness. And many of you might say, well, duh, when people feel sick, they don't feel like seeking out mates, they don't feel like having sex. But have you ever wondered why that actually is? Well, it turns out that it can be explained by the release of what are called inflammatory cytokines. So cytokines are related to the immune system, they travel in the lymph and in the blood, and they attack invader cells like bacteria and viruses. And under conditions of illness, we make a lot of different cytokines. Some of them are anti-inflammatory, but some of them are pro-inflammatory. And the best known example of a pro-inflammatory cytokine is IL-6. And it's known that IL-6, when injected into individuals, will decrease the desire for sex and eventually will reduce levels of testosterone and estrogen independent of feeling lousy. So the reason why people don't want sex when they're sick is because levels of IL-6 are increased. Now, this is important because as we start to think about the different ways to modulate the sex steroid hormones, so-called optimize the hormones, keeping levels of IL-6 low is going to be important for them to exert their effects. Now, IL-6 doesn't just travel to the gonads and shut down the gonads. It actually has ways to interact with some of the receptors that the steroid hormones, estrogen and testosterone, bind to and impact those receptors so that the sex steroid hormones can't have their effect. In short, and put simply, inflammatory cytokines like IL-6 are bad for sex steroid hormones.
What's your thoughts on all of this? Let us know in the comment section below. If you found this video interesting or helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and press the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future uploads. Until then, take care.